This is Amoy from the Vibing with Amoy YouTube channel, and you are locked into the Word Inspiration Podcast with your host, Damian, renewing your mind and increasing your spiritual health. Renewing your mind and increasing your spiritual health. Do enjoy today's episode.
Awake, oh soul, says the Lord. Come in, my joy, and be set free. Be still, oh soul, says the King. I'll fight for you, and strongholds are lifting, chains are breaking. The sick receive healing, 'cause he is alive, and the dead resurrected. The blind man will see again, and we will overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony.
Welcome back to the Word Inspiration Podcast, renewing your mind and increasing your spiritual health. We are coming to you live from the Pure Music Studios here in Jamaica, and that was a powerful moment of worship there from Minister O'Shane Miz with a song from his EP album entitled Overcome. We also did an interview with O'Shane right here in this very studio. So, O'Shane, big up yourself wherever you are. But we are back with our special guest today, Paul Fearon, and we had a wonderful time in our opening segment learning more about the work that you are doing. And in this segment of our show, we are talking about your book entitled Tailored Faith. Is it tailored faith over faith, or is it
tailored faith over faith?
Over faith.
Yes, sir.
All right. So just to give you a little background information, in August 2020, Paul released his book entitled Tailored Faith, comprising of devotionals full of practical tips that provide simple guidance and timeless truths to help us navigate the challenges of life. Similar to O'Shane's song, Paul encountered a season of his life where he had to trust God to overcome those challenges, especially in the midst of a global pandemic. And so let's talk some more about this. Again, Paul, we're so glad to have you here. Can you share with us some aspects of what led you to writing this book?
Okay, thank you so much for having me, Damian. It's a pleasure to be here, really.
Right.
I'm honored. So leading up to the book, COVID-19 hit.
Right.
And so I reside in Florida, of course. And so Florida was one of the worst hit states. So by that time, companies were allowing people to work from home. So I was fortunate enough to be working from home from my home office. And what I do is foreclosure. And of course, there is a ban on foreclosure due to the effects of COVID-19. Okay, so many people globally has lost their job in the States. It's a mess. Anyway, so I'm at the end of the stick, the foreclosure process, and so hours were reduced. People were being laid off all around me, and I sat in my office at home. And, I started to ask the Lord, I'm like, Lord, what's next? I just purchased a new place, and I'm like, Lord, what do I do next? And so, I literally hear Damian, the voice of the Lord says, whatever happened to the devotionals which you have been writing over the years?
Wow, yes.
And I'm like, wow. So I had a stack of folder in my office. They were all printed. I had them on Trump Drive. And I heard a voice say, pull them up on your laptop. Pull them up from the folder and see what's going on. And I did. Needless to say, those devotionals over the years were written from a real place. Yeah. As I navigated through my challenging times, I would wake up in the early morning and things would be deposited in me, trying to encourage myself as I go through trusting the Lord for some stuff.
Yeah, it's
And
good
it
to
was
meditate in the early mornings too.
absolutely. So I would be awakened at early morning, or I'd be up late at night, and the inspirations will come. So it's from that I started to write, and over the years I've been writing. And so it was out of that situation with COVID-19 that literally brought me face to face with, what's next? You got to do something. And so it was out of that I heard clearly, now is the time to share some hope, in this seemingly hopeless period as we go through COVID-19. So it was out of that tailored faith over faith was birth.
Wow, interesting journey. Yeah, and you want to shout out to your IG followers, or give them
Big
a
up
little
my
snippet?
IG followers. I'm here at this great studio. I'm doing a podcast with my friend Damian.
All right, so you'll hear much more and you'll see much more from this upcoming episode. Thank you for tuning in on the Instagram Live. All right. So as we're continuing our show, I'm here in the podcast episode with Paul, and I noticed that the book was released on the 6th of August 2020, a significant day for us here in Jamaica as well. Was this a strategic move? Could you tell us?
It was a strategic move. As I came to Jamaica, so I left out the part where, having known that my hours was affected, I figured, you know what? I have some time, let me take some vacations. I put in for my vacation. It was approved, and I'm like, you know what? I have to come home. Like every year I would come home for champs, because I'm an average track and field.
Champs is a big thing,
Big thing. So every year I come home. So March had passed, there was no champs. I'm
Right.
like, you know what, man, I got to come home. So I put in my vacation. It was approved. I decided to come home. Then when I decided to come home the day before, I was furloughed. So I'm like, okay, so let me do that. So so it was from that, when I came home, I said, okay, now it's the perfect time to zero in on getting the book finalized, edited, and all that stuff. I came home, networked with two friends of mine, and we put in the hours, days after days doing the editing. And then once it was finished and was published, I'm like, you know what? I'm here. It's Emancipation and Independence Weekend. I'm like, you know what better time to release this book? And so I decided to do it August the 6th.
Right. And so in a sense, this book will help to liberate persons who are in bondages and feeling broken and so on from your inspiration here.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, so the book comprises, as going through the book, and I realized approximately 80 devotionals and fundamental truths that motivate individuals to press through their challenges. And, we've been hearing a lot of encouragement because, as you know, the COVID-19 pandemic has caused us to feel isolated. Well, we're not linking up with our friends as how we used to, and our families and so on. So even in this time, we need something to keep us alive.
Absolutely.
And I've noticed that even in your book, one of the devotionals, you spoke about a change is coming. And I just want to quote what you wrote here, is that God always calls us to triumph over the adversities that we experience. And so as I reflected on that line in your chapter there, how does one maintain a positive mindset in the midst of hardships? Because you have experienced it over the years, and as you said, the COVID-19 pandemic caused you to also lose your job. How did you shift your mindset during that time?
You know what, to be honest with you, Damian, I'll be the first to admit that maintaining a positive mindset in hardship is easier said than done.
Right?
I'll be the first to admit it, because a lot of times we have all these cliches and, we grew up in a church, so we know all the facade. But I'll be the first to admit that maintaining a positive mindset in hardship is always easier said than done. But my reference, because the Bible is the basis of my Christian faith. By the way, I learned that at JTS.
Oh, yes.
We had a lecturer that always used to say that. Because the Bible is the basis of my Christian faith. I run to it in times of trouble. And so when I face challenging times, because it's all I know, it's proven, it's tested, it's tried.
Yeah.
There are stories in the Bible. My own personal experience has caused me to leave me with one option, with no option. Like,
Right.
okay, so what other option do you have
Right.
than to trust God,
Trust God.
and live? And so it is from that, it's based on that premise why I am forced to seek to always maintain a positive mindset, even when things around me seems the opposite.
Yeah.
You know, I'm forced that, hey, what other choice do you have? You just have to trust God
Right.
and know that things will get better.
Yeah, I love how you said that, trust God because things will get better. And
Yeah.
when I think about even my own journey,
Right.
and all that I've gone through, and even just recently graduating from the
JTS.
seminary. From
Congratulations,
JTS.
big
Thank you
up.
very, thank you very much.
Congratulations,
That was a
yes.
long journey.
Yes.
Many times I thought about, giving up and so on. But then when you look at, having that understanding that God has a plan for your life,
Absolutely.
you don't just necessarily throw in the towel just like that, even though you want to.
Yes.
But to keep pressing, and as you said, you change your mindset.
Yeah.
And I love talking to young people,
Right.
and being a minister and also involved with Talk of Youth Radio,
Right.
and all of that.
Yes.
We are living in a world that is so chaotic, and many of our youth suffer from depression, low self-esteem, all these things that are related to mental health.
Right.
And mental health is a big thing globally.
Big thing. Yes, it is.
You have spoken about the importance of being pliable in God's hands.
Yes.
In a sense, talking about the fact that God is the potter. And how does the potter help to mend the broken pieces of our lives?
Damian, as I think about the potter,
Right.
it is very critical. In my writing, I spoke to that because as I go through my time, I felt like I was so broken. I was trusting the Lord for so many things. I had to leave myself pliable and open to God.
Yeah.
And so it was from my own personal experience. And then I reverted to the scripture where it speaks about the potter, in Isaiah 64. And it says, the potter in his mastery of trying to make something that's broken is always a fascinating process. And so, we are all broken in some way, shape, or form. And as being broken people, if we were created by God, He created us, and so He is the ideal person to fix us. He's the ideal person to fix us if we're broken. And so because of that, I see the process of being mended by the potter as being very fascinated. And He is our potter. He is the one who is able to put us back together, the broken pieces in our lives.
Right.
He's the one that has the power and the ability to mend those broken pieces in our lives.
Okay, wow. Thank you for sharing that. And there are a lot of persons who feel broken
Yes.
because of various situations.
Absolutely.
But we have to believe that God is the one that is mending those broken pieces. And as
Absolutely.
the song says, the potter wants to put
you
us back together
again. Yes.
Wow, so 2020 has been a tough year for many of us,
Yes.
smacked into the middle of a global pandemic, ladies and gentlemen, that shifted the entire operations of our lives. And this has shown us that we need to have faith in the Lord even more now than ever.
Absolutely.
And we are having a delightful time in this discussion with our special guest, Paul Fearon. We're here at the Pure Music Studios in Jamaica, and we must take a break. Much more when we return to this special episode of the Word Inspiration podcast, renewing your mind and increasing your spiritual health.
Thanks for watching this edition of Word Inspiration with your host, Damian Scarlett. Join us next time for another episode of the Word Inspiration podcast, renewing your mind and increasing your spiritual health.